Hello everyone, it's NotaNoobPat, and welcome to Perk Review. Today we're taking a look at the level 35 Yui perk, Any Means Necessary. While standing next to a drop pallet, a survivor will press and hold the active ability button for 4 seconds to reset the pallet in its upright position. This perk will have a cooldown of 120 seconds. Let's get into our demonstration. One thing I love about Any Means Necessary is the simplicity. I throw the pallet down, then I hit the active ability button, and the pallet is moved back into its upright position and can be thrown down again. The active ability button by default is E as an entity on PC, and this is how the perk appears at a downed pallet. The perk will rotate counterclockwise in the perk window for the 120 second cooldown period until it can be used again. Then, if you were to throw down a pallet in the killer's face and try to immediately reset it, the perk will be interrupted if the killer decides to break the pallet. Let's get into our video examples. Very early in the game, with 4 generators left, I throw down a pallet that I presume is going to hit the killer, but he's able to avoid the stun. Now this pallet actually survives in the same spot until all 5 generators are completed and I reset it. I'm about to go for the unhook and figure it may come in handy. Unfortunately, the trapper was face camping and had some traps surrounding the hook. Without borrowed time here, there wasn't much I could do, and I end up running away, and I find myself at the pallet that I reset earlier. This pallet is so helpful because I'm waiting for the hatch to open about 20 to 30 meters away from the door. Had I not been able to spend some time around this jungle gym, I would have been forced to try to make a dash for the door, but I think I may have been caught. My teammate tells me that they're about to escape, and I head for the hatch right next to the school bus, and I'm out. In this next game, I'm going to start the game with a terrible pallet throw. I thought for sure that the killer was coming to me, but he ends up going to check a locker. In the time it takes the killer to do this, I decide to right my wrongs, and I put the pallet back up so my teammates or I can use it later in the game. Then I'm in a chase with the killer, throw the pallet down, but go for the flashlight blind. The killer avoids breaking the pallet because they don't want to be blinded by my flashlight in the process. This means I'm able to run free with the pallet still down. After escaping the chase, I return to the down pallet and place it back in its upright position. For good measure, I return back to the same truck pallet and the killer's gonna walk right into this stun. Then, they decide to leave it down again. For the final time, I'm going to reset this pallet. I could have hypothetically thrown down this same pallet for a third time if the opportunity arose thanks to this perk. So, let's give this perk a grade. Any Means Necessary gets a 4 out of 10 from me. I feel like this grade may take some people by surprise, and I can understand why. I came into this perk extremely skeptical, but after 10 games, I was having a lot of fun with it. I can say up front that this perk is a bit of a meme. All of its use can be negated if the killer decides to break pallets when they're thrown down, which does happen more often than not. However, it is extremely satisfying to throw down a pallet, pick it back up, then get a stun with the reset pallet later on in a game. You only have so many pallets on a map, so the ability to reuse a few of them can be pretty helpful as the game goes on. Again, I had tons of fun, and I wanted to give this perk an even higher grade than what I did. But the limitations are just too much to do that. As I mentioned before, if the killer breaks the pallets, this perk is dead weight the entire game. Then if the killer figures out you're using this perk because you hit them with the same pallet twice, they're probably going to start breaking pallets as soon as you throw them down to prevent you from continuing to use this perk. Then the cooldown is 2 minutes long, so it's not like you're going to be able to reset 5 or more pallets in a game often, or maybe ever. So yes, lots of limitations, but still lots of fun as well. Much like Diversion and the Pebble, some perks are more about novelty and fun than their actual utility. I think that's the case here, so this perk gets a 4. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to leave it a like. If you want to check out more perk review, make sure to look for the links in the description and visit my channel to subscribe. I also stream twice a week on Twitch if you want to stop by. Take it easy.